The fastest way to use a layer mask to hide part of an image, like the white background around this scooter, is to make a selection and then convert the selection into a mask. With just a couple of clicks, you'll be able to combine the scooter without the white background with this scene. The good news is that the layer masking principles underlying this technique are the same as those you learned in the last movie. We'll just be applying them using a more automatic, time-saving feature. So this is a good way to practice and reinforce what you already learned as you build more related skills. This layer masking technique starts with a selection. You could use any selection tool for this, but why not use one where Photoshop does most of the work? The Select Subject command, which we've seen before in this course. To do that, in the Layers panel, make sure the scooter layer is selected. Then go to the menu bar and choose Select and then Subject. You should see the marching ants of a selection outline around the scooter. Don't worry about selecting the shadows under the scooter. The background scene has its own shadows that I think look better when these images are combined. So there's just one more click to turn this selection into a layer mask. Go to the bottom of the Layers panel and click the Add Layer Mask button. And look what's happened in the image. The white background around the scooter disappeared from view. Can you guess why? If you look at the Layers panel, you'll solve that mystery. When you added a layer mask, Photoshop noticed that you had a selection active. And whenever that's true, Photoshop does the work of adding black, white, and gray to the layer mask for you based on what you'd selected. That saves you time and makes for more precise layer masks than you may be able to make with a paintbrush. To see how good a job Photoshop did, let's take a look at the layer mask that it made from our selection. Hold down the Option key on a Mac or the Alt key on Windows and click on the layer mask thumbnail in the Layers panel. All the little details are accounted for in this mask, even this little loop under the seat and this thin part of the handlebar. As you can see, Photoshop added black to everything outside your selection. You may remember from the last movie that white on a layer mask shows what's on the mask layer, in this case, the scooter you had selected. And black on a layer mask hides everything that's on the mask layer, in this case, the background, including that white studio background that came with the scooter image. Let's go back to the regular view of the image by pressing Option or Alt as you click on the layer mask thumbnail again. Just like we saw in the last movie, there are advantages to hiding an unwanted part of an image, like that white studio background, rather than deleting it. For one thing, you get the chance to fine-tune a layer mask like this at any time, even if you were to do 50 more things to this image. For example, let's say that tomorrow a client asks you to hide this kickstand. All you have to do is paint with black on the same layer mask to do that, as you learned how to do in the last movie. But this time, there's a lot less painting to do. The point is that you can use the brushing technique and the selection technique together on a layer mask. So let's get some black paint. If you don't have black as your foreground color, then press D for default and then X for switch on your keyboard to put black in the foreground color box here at the bottom of the toolbar. Then get the brush tool and check that you have a fairly small brush. If you don't, go up to the options bar and choose a brush here and set the size and hardness of your brush tip. In the Layers panel, make sure that you have the layer mask thumbnail, not the image thumbnail, selected on the scooter layer. And then just go down and paint with black over the kickstand. And remember, you're really painting on the layer mask, not on the image. And the kickstand disappears from view. Now that you have such a good mask of the scooter, you can put any background behind it by bringing in another image in the Layers panel, or maybe creating a new layer beneath the scooter layer and filling it with solid color, or with a gradient or a pattern. There are lots of possibilities for replacing an image background with this relatively quick technique of turning a selection into a layer mask.